Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel where today we will be taking a look at the Chieftain Concept Test Rig. That's a bit of a mouthful, so I think I'm just going to go with Test Rig for the rest of this video. So for those of you short on time, here is my quick overview. I really like the Test Rig. It's got excellent DPM, good frontal armor, superb gun depression, and it's got great still concealment. I don't know the exact value of the still concealment, but based on the minimap, when you see me stop driving in a second, based on the minimap alone, I would guess it's roughly 35 meters. It looks very, very similar to the Su-122, the Era 1 Russian tank destroyer, which, now that I've mentioned that, is my segue into why I like the Test Rig. I really enjoyed the Su-122 in Era 1, and the Test Rig has a very similar playstyle. The only difference is the Test Rig is even more fun to play. So, if you're into the Russian TD playstyle and you want a better version of the Su-122, then the Test Rig can be yours. And the base package is, what is it, 12,900 gold in store right now. And I'm going to go over a little bit more about why I think this tank is worth it, but right now I'll just state I think this tank is worth that cost. It's not a small amount of gold, but I do think it is worth that much. Okay, let's dive into the detailed stats of the Test Rig. Typically, I would do a comparison to one or two other tanks, but the Test Rig is really the first of its kind. And by that, I mean it's the Russian-style tank destroyer, except it's British. So I don't think, if my memory is correct, I don't think we have another tank in the game, and that includes World War II, that is quite like this. I mean, the Badger, the Tier 10 Badger, is sort of like that, but this is a lot more nimble than that whole tech tree line of British tank destroyers, like the Tortoise and the 88. This is a lot faster, it's a lot more nimble, it's got a lot more zing to it, if that makes sense. So I don't think it's quite fair to compare this to those ones. So that is why I will stick to the single comparison of just this tank and maybe some of the other TDs that are in this era, because it is a standalone vehicle, in my opinion. Well, yeah, in my opinion anyway. So, without crew or equipment, the Test Rig has 418mm of pen on standard rounds. In the games I've been playing, I've not felt that to be limiting at all. If you do want more pen though, the gold rounds have 483mm of pen. And being British, the secondary rounds are Hesh, that have 290mm of pen. Those pen values are not the best for Era 2 TDs, but they're also not the worst. The standard and gold rounds will do an average of 530 alpha, while the Hesh will do an average of 680 alpha. Those alpha values are very good. The only TD that does better as far as alpha is concerned is the Object 120, but the Object 120 doesn't reload every 7.6 seconds. And I say 7.6 seconds, that's without crew or equipment, so that reload will get faster, which means your DPM will be higher. Speaking of DPM, the DPM of the Test Rig, again without crew or equipment, is 4,182. That's pretty good. That's very good. That is the highest of all Era 2 tank destroyers. The Test Rig comes with 2,650 hit points, which takes it to the top spot. I'm getting my words mixed up there. That takes it to the top spot, having 50 more hit points than the Wolverine. It is, however, tied slowest, and this is not really that surprising, it is tied slowest of all the tank destroyers with the M50. So, if you've got the M50 Ontos, the 6-shot recoilless rifle tank destroyer premium, if you've got that, you have an idea of how quick this thing is. It will do 48 kilometers an hour unboosted. So there you go. Not that quick when we're looking at, you know, comparatively with everything else in Era 2, 48 kilometers an hour really isn't that good. But it is a Chieftain after all, so I really wouldn't expect it to be that fast. The Test Rig has 510 meters of view range, 396 meters of moving concealment, and 327 meters of still concealment. So there you go. those are the high level stats for the test rig, and keep in mind that the stated stats will change drastically once you get crew and equipment in your vehicle and consumables. Remember, in Cold War, consumables matter, I would say, a lot more than they do in World War II. So keep that in mind. In crew, equipment and consumables will make a massive difference to the performance of this vehicle. So what I'll do now is I'll show you what I was running in this game, and running what I've got here means that the still concealment is absolutely insane. And that is what leads me to refer you to a video that I actually uploaded this time last year titled The Little TD That Could. And in that video I showed a game of the SU-122 sitting stationary at the back of Westfield farming all the spotting assist. The test rig can do exactly the same thing. It has the same capability. It has insane concealment when it's not moving, and I must stress that point, not moving. Your concealment will be, what, 35 meters or whatever it is when you're not moving, and that is a trait that I really love about this style of tank destroyer, because it can lead to some really intense moments where you've got no choice but to sit in a bush and rely on your concealment and your camo to save you. You have to rely on, even though we've got true vision, you just have to rely on the enemy tank just driving past and not seeing you. And when that happens, when you get games like that, where that happens, it's such a unique rush that it feels so good. And that is what the SU-122 can do. The test rig can do the same, but it has this amazing DPM. It's got 10 degrees of gun depression, and the 250mm of sloped armor it has at its front. If you measure that horizontally, that comes out to, I believe it's actually 352mm, if we're being precise. And shout out to this leopard here. I don't actually know who the leopard was, but they're giving me a nudge, which, affirmative. Thank you very much for the assist there. But anyway, yes, the frontal armor is 250mm, but at the angle it's at, it's roughly 350. And in this game, right here, you will see just how effective that frontal armor can be when you take advantage of the 10 degrees of gun depression. And that is one of the things I would mention that makes this tank so much better than the Russian-style tank destroyers that are of the same similar build. The 10 degrees of gun depression means that you can peak ridges like nobody's business. This thing is really, really good at playing hull down. I like this tank. You may you may have noticed. I quite like this tank. And if you can play it hull down and stationary and take advantage of the 30 degrees of gun traverse, so it's got 15 right, 15 left, 30 total. I can do basic maths. That's good. Pat myself on the back for that. This thing, it is a monster. In the right position, it is an absolute monster. And this game here is an example of just how monstrous it can be. With that said, though, there's always a catch. There always is a catch. There's always a balancing factor. You do need to play to its strengths. It is slow. It's 48 kilometers an hour. That is very slow for Era 2. And it has limited gun traverse. You can't traverse it. It doesn't have a turret to traverse like most other tanks do. You are limited to basically firing the direction you are facing. So if you get caught out, you're going to get killed. You need to play at range. You can't brawl with this thing. You can't really play close range. You've got to play ridges. You've got to play with your concealment. And the point about concealment, that is very critical for this tank. You're going to have to play where you're hidden, because if you get yourself into trouble, you always do have that option of, I'm just going to sit still in this bush, and fingers crossed, they just drive past. Now, you might think that's unbelievable, and that would never happen, but trust me, I've had it happen to me, and when it does happen, you're just like, ha, look at that guy, doesn't see me. It is so much fun when that happens, and I love it. And that is the reason why, like I've said, I love the kind of camo setup that this tank has got going for it. It's really unique, and I think it makes for exciting and interesting gameplay. So there we go. Before I close this off, let's take a look at the economy stats. The test rig has a 50% silver boost, 10% tank XP boost, 4% free XP boost, and finally a 25% crew XP boost. So not only, after everything I've said, I've bigged this thing up, telling you how good it is, not only is it an incredible tank destroyer, it's also a crew trainer. When you thought it couldn't get any better, it does. So there you go. It is a 25% crew XP boost, makes this a crew trainer, and I like this tank so much, I've actually bought it. I own this. So I'm not telling you guys to go out and buy a tank that I don't own. I actually own this. So when I say you should get one, I really do mean it. I love this tank. I think it's really, really good. It doesn't feel overpowered to me. It can be very, very effective in the right hands, in the right map position. It can also be terrible in the wrong map position. So you do need to be very, very careful with it. And the base package, like I mentioned already, costs 12,900 gold. That isn't a small amount of gold. I believe that is just over, what's that, £40? So it's probably like $45, $50. That's not a small amount of money. I understand that. And I wouldn't say it's worth it unless this tank really was worth it. It's a crew trainer and it's a very good tank destroyer. You really do get a lot for your money with this tank. I really would recommend people buy this, especially if you enjoy the Russian limited gun traverse style tank destroyer gameplay. If you like that, this is definitely for you. If you've never played the Russian tank destroyers and you're curious to find out, oh, what would they be like, but you've got some gold, you want to spend some money, then this is a fantastic introduction for you. This tank will introduce you to the playstyle that is required for every single limited gun traverse tank in the game, not just the Russians. I say that I've been focusing on the Russians because that is the only other similar playstyle that we've got in Cold War at the moment. So that's why that connection is there. But if you're playing World War II, then obviously there are other tanks in that mode that have similar playstyles. But for Cold War, this would be a fantastic introduction to the limited traverse tank destroyers. So there you go, folks. That is all I have for this one. I am going to, well, we'll tell you what, we'll stay here for the rest of this game because it's 9 to 4. Yes, patiently wait for the FV to reappear. I could probably, all I've got is standard ammunition loaded for this replay. I haven't even tried firing gold. I haven't tried firing Hesh yet. But as you can see, this tank does do very well in the hull down position. That FV's the last one alive. I think we rush up here and he gets taken out any second now. And bang, there we go. There's the end of the game. So there you have it, guys. This is the Chieftain, what is it? Chieftain Concept Test Rig. Yes, Chieftain Concept Test Rig. There you go. It is a fine premium Era 2 tank destroyer. I highly recommend you get one. Alright guys, that's all I've got. So if you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like, if not a dislike. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.